City of Stevens Point Board of Park Commissioners meeting, recorded August 4, 2021.
All right, good afternoon or good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order for the Board of Park Commissioners August 4, 2021 meeting. Dan, you want to go ahead and call the roll, please?
Freckman?
Here.
Gladowski?
Here.
Hall is excused. Kirsch is excused. McDonald?
Here.
O'Connor?
Here.
Shabilsky?
Here.
Alder Shore?
Here.
Alder Swinsky?
Here.
Sorensen?
Here.
Alder Zarazua?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Agenda item number 2, approval of the July 7th, 2021 meeting minutes. A second to review, and then we'll entertain a motion to accept.
I'll move.
We have a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept the approval, or to approve the meetings as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I choose a yes?
Okay. Yeah, we have to account the COVID accountability for time delays, so. All right, agenda item number 3, presentation on partnership history between the Stevens Point Softball Association and the Stevens Point Parks Recreation and Forestry Department by Mike Disher. Dan, you want to set it up for us, please?
Absolutely. So we do have Mike and Matt Disher here this evening from the Stevens Point Softball Association, SPSA. Mike and I were visiting in my office here, that's probably over a month ago, talking through a number of projects and partnerships that we've had, and they've been a tremendous partner for the department and the city for many years. And we talked about there's been some new faces, not only mine, but some on the park commission, and we thought it might be a nice idea to, Mike was willing to, and Matt, to provide a little bit of a handout in your packet that shows some of the things that they've been involved with. But we thought it'd be nice to come before park commission. If there's any questions on it, say a few words here tonight and kind of remind the new members, as well as kind of a thank you here, and just to present on all that they've done. Most recently, everyone knows about the turf project, which was very visible. But if you look back here, you see it's quite a lengthy list. We're very fortunate to have them as partners. But so that's why they're here this evening. We did set August as a month to kind of go over this list a little bit, let them say a few words to the commission, and if anyone does have questions for them, we thought it'd be a great time here to kind of take care of that this evening.
Great. You want to have him head over to the podium?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Mike, if you don't mind, if you come over
Yeah,
here.
you want to go ahead and go to the podium, Mike, we appreciate it.
I left my glasses in the car, so put my sunglasses on, that doesn't mean I want to look at you or anything like that. So, we're just here to tell you what we've done in the last, I don't know, 1974 till now. How long is that? That's almost 47 years. We started the Stevens Point Softball Association in 1974 because back then, as a young, hot-headed guy, I had a disagreement with an umpire. And the park director back then, Dave McDonald, sent me a letter that said, "You can't play here anymore." So anyway, I went in and talked to him, and he said, "If you don't like the way we do things, then start your own." And so back in 1974, we started the Stevens Point Softball Association. And you can see the things that we've done. Our commitment has always been to improve the parks we play on and improve things in Stevens Point. And we calculate that since 1974 till the present, with the things we've been involved with the money we've given back to the city of Stevens Point through our 10% of concession sales, we're closing in on probably $1.5 million, maybe more than that. So that's just us. And I thought maybe the council and or the park board and these minutes will go on to the council needed to just remember who we were. You know, there was a time back 20 years ago when Stevens Point our softball association had 100+ teams playing softball here, and we had 60 volleyball teams. Plover, 5 miles down the road, had 110 softball teams and another 60 volleyball teams. Well, guess what? The only one left is us. And now we're down to, Matt, 35 teams? Yeah. So softball's changed a little bit, but we're still here. We're still fundraising. We're still trying to do what we committed to doing way back then. And we're working on closing out our commitment to Xenoff Park. So that's what we've done. And if anybody has any questions. You know, our first project was in 1974. It says at Iverson Park we built a concession stand. I think that concession stand cost us like $4,000 to build, and we went way out on a limb to do that. You know, people say, "What, are you crazy?" You know, so that's us. That's the Stevens Point Softball Association. And so if anybody has any questions about us, great. If not, we're happy to be here. And now, son Matthew, as I said, I was on the first president in 1974, and now I'm the vice president 47 years ago. Matthew's been president for several years now, and so there's always been kind of a disher thing going on. And you'd be surprised. I tell people this all the time. I had people say to me, "Why do you call it Zenoff Park if you own the place?" I say, "Because we don't own it. There's still a confusion out there." But anyway, again, that's what we've done. If you have any questions, and be happy to answer.
Yeah, Little League and softball are still using those fields too, aren't they, in the summer for tournaments?
We decided back when, just 4 or 5 years ago, Matt, that we needed to fill the park because softball obviously wasn't going to do that. And yeah, we work with the Little League on a regular basis, so they play there every night. Wednesday night is their night. They can play out there, use all 3 diamonds, but they're out there every night working with us. They run their tournaments out there. Youth Girls Softball is out there for their big tournament. We just hosted, believe it or not, we worked with Plover on running a junior Olympic tournament that had how many teams, Matt? 74 teams played in Plover Parks and played at Zenoff Park. So maybe there's something going on there that we can help do, but we've never had that communication between us and Plover. It's always been us against Plover, so yeah, we're adult softball's down a little bit, but the park's still being used.
How many under 25 people are you getting out there? Seems like those people don't do anything.
Mike, I don't know. Matt could probably answer that better than us, but we just don't see them, huh?
There's 4 or 5 teams this year.
4 or 5 teams, so that means there's 48 to 65 under 25 people playing. We try to do different things. We've tried to start a wooden bat league. We worked on starting a 60 and over league that played during the day, and that just never went over. We're working with the Stevens Point YMCA right now to run some programs between the YMCA and the Stevens Point Softball Association for their special needs people, because it's easier for special needs to play on turf than it is to play in dirt. And we couldn't do that before. So it was our goal when we started the Zenoff Park project, this last one, was to make Zenoff Park more of a place where everybody can play and use it more often, not just a softball field. So it's worked out pretty well. And yeah, it's been a nice trip. One of these days I'll just say I don't want to do that anymore, but it's fun,
So I guess, Mike and Matt, I'm curious to, look in the crystal ball. I mean, is there a possibility of recruiting younger kids to play? I remember I started playing softball when I was 16. I started playing at Zenoff in the mid-'90s, and there were team upon team and 5 nights a week in tournaments. And where's the disconnect? How are we losing kids that would normally come out of a baseball program and then get into softball?
Adult softball, for a lot of years, several years, I was involved nationally with USA Softball. I was on their board of directors and chaired some things. The same thing that happened nationally happens in Stevens Point. When a team loses their manager, the guy who puts everybody together, who finds the sponsor, the team breaks up. Nobody wants that job. And I don't know. I always tell people that I was lucky enough at age 70 now to have played softball at the peak season. I mean, remember I told you back 25 years ago, there were 220 teams playing softball between our 2 cities, and there were tournaments all over the place. So I don't know. Outside of managers leaving, maybe there's more things for kids to do now. You can always say they got their phones in their hands and they're doing other things, but I don't know. But it's happened nationally. It's just not. Slow pitch softball is way down. So I don't know what to say. Maybe one day it'll make that huge comeback. But if they are, we're prepared, because we got 3 diamonds. And Stevens Point, when we built Zenoff Park, was kind of the premier place to play. You know, we used to host a tournament every June called the Point Classic that had the top, out of 32 teams that would play here. One year we had 6 of the top 6 teams that played in the national championship 2 years before that. We'd get teams from all over the place. We hosted the Olympic team. The United States Olympic team, we hosted them 4 times. They played they came to Stevens Point to play at Xenoff Park. And several years ago, I was at I ran into Jenny Finch. I don't know if you know who Jenny Finch is. I ran into her at an airport, and she said, Mike Disher, Stevens Point. So there's, you know, they remember that little town. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to do all that. You know, we're not here to pat ourselves on the back, but it's been fun. It's been a good haul, you know.
I'll just add too, in terms of from a departmental standpoint, tremendous partners. You know, if you look at, it's at the bottom, and these 2 gentlemen are more than modest. If we were to have to staff the umpires ourselves or put the concession people in the concession stand, even as simple as the eyes on the facility, so when lights go out or if there's any sort of issues with the facility, you can't even put numbers on some of that stuff about having the people at the facility, positive impacts, and we're not having to run down and take care of those things too. So there's a lot of dollars that aren't necessarily calculated just in the partnership and the outreach of the facility and improving it. And this last project, in addition to all these projects, this last project, we're one of the very few facilities in a park and rec setting to have turf on 3 fields. I mean, you don't see that really anywhere without a new facility. And that doesn't happen without these 2 gentlemen and their board and all the people that are involved out there. So I can tell you from a staff perspective, we've got a really strong relationship with the Stevens Point Softball Association, and we hope to never see them go. So keep plugging along, guys.
Well, it's a lot like Little League and Youth Girls Softball. We all do the same thing. And by the way, if you have some money that we've saved you, we got a couple of ideas at Xenoff Park. We could use some of that cash.
Great. Like I said, go ahead.
Just a comment. I just want to say thank you. I mean, I think you definitely can pat yourselves on the back for all of the wonderful things you've helped our community have. I mean, our park system is amazing, but obviously all of these things could possibly be missing if you hadn't contributed and fundraised and everything to help this happen. So I think it's neat to hear that this all started because of a disagreement with an ump. So
Really did.
So maybe it's not so bad to speak out if you don't agree with something. But
And please understand something. I've been here since 1974, but the guy who's really the guy in front of things doing things now is Matt.
Yeah.
You know, when you get a little older, you have to admit that you lose touch with the young guys who are playing ball, and Matt's that guy who, of course, he's not that young anymore, but he's the guy who's been there for 10 years. Listen, he's the guy who's there on weekends when we're running tournaments 12 hours a day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You know, so it's a pleasure to have him doing that. I guess he grew up in a softball family, so it works out okay.
I guess if I can just piggyback on Alder Zarazua's comments, the economic impact for the community besides the work that we're doing in the park and the quality of the facilities shouldn't be understated, because when people come, they spend money. And for many, many years, this organization has brought hundreds of people to the community. We spend on average about $73 a day the last time I talked to Sarah Birch at the CVB. So that's, again, I think that's worth acknowledging, that impact beyond the ability to bring teams into play has a significant impact on the tax room night generation, tax generation, spending in the community for small businesses. So I don't know that we should lose sight of that as well, from the impact on the community beyond just having softball teams here.
We just wish we could host more national stuff. You know, back in the day, we hosted a men's A national championship. Teams came from Alaska to Texas and New York to Florida and everything in between. And in a comment, we hosted a tournament. A team from New York went to the concession stand and got a 16-ounce glass of beer, and the bill was like $2 or something like that. And he left a $10 bill there, and the girl from the concession stand came running out after him, and he went, "Oh my God, did I shortchange you?" And she said, "No, you have $7 coming back." And he said, "In New York, they asked me for 10 more." But people remember that, and when I travel around now and I go to some places, they still remember Stevens Point. So it's been fun. It's been a good ride.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mike and Matt? All right, we appreciate you coming.
I guess I have a comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alder.
I just, like I stated in the past, I've been to many cities with my daughter traveling for fastest softball, and I've always said that our facilities in Stevens Point are hands down top notch. I mean, they are. My daughter played in the state tournament here a few weeks back. We played at Enough. Just excellent facilities, and I can't say enough how much I'm appreciative of the Dishers and the SBSA for what they've done. For individuals to step up, for a group to step up and basically take this on and add so much to our community, not only in economic development, but just the quality of life. I mean, we always praise how Stevens Point offers such a quality of life. And this is part of it right here. And these are just people just stepping up and, kind of taking ownership of it and doing it. And I can't thank this group enough. So, again, I just, very impressed with our facilities and what we do here. Thank you.
Last comment. Matthew, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I can't promise you 10 or 15 more years, but that guy can. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, approval of the Central Wisconsin Children's Museum Duck Race and Wonderful Water Bash at Iverson Park on August 28th, 2021.
Yes, so this special event request is for later this month. We do have Corey Rush here as well as the applicant. We did work through this application with a couple things. So in Iverson Park, as everyone's probably aware, if you've been down there on a Saturday, the parking can become a real congestion, especially on the northern lot. So in your packet, you'll notice that the original application showed some staging and things that was going to happen between the north lot and where Northward Pedal and Paddle and things are. Corey's been really great. We talked through this. We're actually, the new site map that they've worked into now will show more staging on the southern lot off of Jefferson and Hillcrest, where it's really, if you go down there, a lot of times people forget that lot because they come in off of 10. So that part's worked out really well. There's really no rentable facilities that are included in this application. They've already spoken with Northward Pedal and Paddle, who are really supportive of the event. So they've really checked all the boxes in regards to that. You'll see this is the potential with all of the items and activities they're offering. It could definitely draw a good number of people. So we wanted to make sure that the people that are coming for other things in the park can still facilitate it. So based on staff's review of it, the only stipulation we had was we recommended approval, provided they would stage out of that Jefferson lot. And based on our conversations and their new site plan that they had given us, they've met all those requirements. So we do recommend approval, and we're not showing any fees on this because of it being non-rentable spaces.
I'd move to approve this item.
I would second.
All right, we have a motion to second. Is there any discussion? Questions for Corey?
Can I take a look and make sure you have the right map? I'm really sorry.
I don't have your newest map in the packet, but I looked
You
at.
want to see it really quick? It's 3 clicks away. It's on our website, and I have a new map that shows where all the new locations will be. I would rather have you approve that one, so we're on the same page.
You bet. What's your website?
So cwchildrensmuseum.org. And you can see Parks Meeting. Scroll down to alternative plan map. Right there, yep. This is a water line. I would like to lay a hose so I have water. And then these are the stations. It just kind of goes around in a circle and everything stages down here. There's a key that should come up, or you can just click on any one of these and it tells you what it is.
Where are you obtaining water from or what?
So right down here is the, I don't know what the name of that building is.
The Boy Scout Lodge, yep.
Yeah.
Corey, would you mind getting in front of the microphone? I'm not sure that we're picking up everything you're saying, and then we can just refer to the map then. Thank you.
So if you look down at the south end of that orange line, that is right about where the Boy Scout Lodge is. I'm hoping that there's a water hook up there. I can put a split in, so if the people that are renting would have access to water if they needed it. But other than that, like, I think we're gonna deliver water to the individual sites, which are the blue dots. With the tractor and trailer. So we don't have to run hoses all over. That wouldn't work. Originally, we were gonna use hoses because everything was crunched together up by the north lot, but now it's kind of spread out and further away from the beach in that other area to give more space. Nobody, whenever I go, I spend a lot of time in Iverson Park. It's kind of slower in here. I don't know if you ever walked through here, but it should be out of everybody's way. I think this is a better plan.
Any questions for Corey on the revised plan that we're looking at? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and a second to accept this as proposed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We got to work on the delay. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item number 4, approval of the Special Olympics doubles disc golf tournament at Yoga Disc Golf Course on October 9, 2021. Dan?
This event application request is for October 9th. With the Yoga Disc Golf Course, whenever we get an application request, we always go to the local disc golf club that built the location first. We've spoken with them. Randy Shukar has agreed that they don't have a tournament. This will work. In addition, we do have a department policy that Park Commission approved many years ago that states that 20% or $3 per participant for the tournaments would go back to the local organization for help with maintenance. They have agreed to that. So based on the review, they need basically nothing from the city other than the course. We do recommend approval of this for October 9th. And then the only remaining tournament we have on the books, if this is approved, is the local organization is going to run one most likely the weekend after, but no conflicts there.
All right.
We may have Caleb, this may be him, the Samsung. Caleb, is that you online?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, so the applicant is here if there would be any questions.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll entertain a motion. Mike?
I'd move to approve it.
Second. John? All right, I guess are there any questions for Caleb, as long as we've got him on the line? Caleb, it appears that you've satisfied everybody's questions, so thank you. Okay, there's a
Oh, awesome.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept this as proposed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I still gotta get that down. All those opposed? All right, thank you, motion carries. I'll get this right yet. All right, moving on to agenda item number 6, the 2022 capital improvement budget discussion. Dan?
Okay, so the capital budget season is upon us, and the process here in the city is ultimately each department is given the 5-year capital plan that we worked on the year previously, and we start working through the prioritization with the intent to borrow for 1 year. So 2022 is really the year that we're looking at the most here this evening. However, it is a 5-year picture that we do plan out for, and as you can see there in our packet, there is several projects. What I'd like to go through at a high level here is ultimately what the 2022 submittal that I've submitted is for the prioritization planning, with the caveat that the Park Commission ultimately has the opportunity this evening, if you'd want to rearrange something, by all means, we can still change it. So the Comptroller Treasurer, when he got this document, knew that we would be discussing it this evening. So how I set this up is, you'll see this is slightly different than the format we give to the Comptroller, Treasurer, and the Mayor, but I tried to organize it so you could see year by year and how it rolls together. So starting at the top, we've been talking about this several times here this year, is the erosion issue that we have in Kosakowski Park. The last time we discussed it, the direction from the Park Commission was to try to bring that number from the 100 and some thousand we were talking about and bring it down as far as we could. The last plan we were able to get it down actually would be just removal of the timbers and restoration of the hillside to be more natural. And we can do that for, we believe, just under $40,000. What that would do ultimately is still allow people to use that hillside to walk down to that area. We still can leave the sand in place, but we wouldn't have that failed retaining wall, or the wall, if the wall did fail, the hillside to shift out into the water. So this is the least expensive option that we can discover at this point. So that's listed as priority 1 because it's a known safety hazard. If that wall does fall, I recommend to staff that we would move that first. Moving from there, we have foundations on the main bridge at Iverson Park. If you go look at the bridge that crosses from the Park Road to go towards the beach house, which is actually what we use for, say, our garbage truck, for all maintenance vehicles to get to the beach or to get to the bathroom, there's sidewalls on that foundation wall that started to crack, and you'll see tuck pointing is very, very needed right now. We knew it was coming. We had it set for 2023. That's why you see the red line. We slid that to 22, and we did some shifting. Down in 23, we moved a different bridge, the further eastern bridge that we originally were planning for 22 to 23, because that one is not failing on the foundation. We did have that looked at by AECom. That's where we got the updated number, and they were the one that said, it's safe to drive on it, but if we let it get too much further, we might have more repair work on it. So that's why that one got shifted, and we recommend that as number 2, because without that bridge, we're down to footbridges essentially to get over there, or we'd have to come down from the Girl Scout side, which is a really steep hill. It's really the primary way in. The third location, or the third prioritization we have on here, is the replastering of the pool. This has been planned as well for many years. It's been held. And as you know, we've spent quite a bit of money on the pool with the new mechanical room. We just redid the slide. So the foundation of the pool is in good shape. And as our facility ages, replastering is basically what protects the core, the shell of the pool. It's the liner between your concrete and your outside shell. If the plastering gets to a point where it's already started to head there, where it gets discolored, or you start having cracks in it, then it starts to let moisture and chemical out into the shell, and that's where you can have much larger issues. We did have both the big pool and the small pools together. Based on the prioritization and looking and having Badger, which is our consultant who does a lot of our facility maintenance, that's additional to what our staff does, they believe we could stagger them, which will help our capital budget as a whole for the city. So we recommend the large pool gets done this year, and then we slid to 2023, the slide pool in the children's area. So that's what we show as priority 3. The next thing that we have in here was our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. So every 5 years we update this plan. The last one that we did was in 2018. This would be a late 2022 project because we'd want to have 23 through 28. One of the reasons this is a high priority is it keeps us grant eligible for the stewardship program. We have a couple big projects we intend to submit for. The Plover River Crossing is one of them, as well as the Emerson Park. The Friends of Emerson Park intend to submit for some of their improvements. So getting this done will allow us to keep that document updated and use with some of those grants. So while there's an investment, obviously, we hope to return that investment, several times over. Moving forward, some of the other things we have is a dehumidifier wheel for the Willard Arena. As you know, there too, we spent quite a bit of money inside that facility. The dehumidifier wheel regulates as it's hot outside and we're regulating and cooling it down inside, and vice versa when it's much cooler outside and we have to warm that ice up. That helps, with the vast chemistry that's going on in the air and the molecules and stuff to keep our humidity correct. Playground equipment, as you know, we kind of phase these out and try to do one a year. The next one that's up is again in our community park, and it's Iverson Park. You'll notice this number increased a little bit with my submittal. If you recall, we did $100,000 in Bucol Park because we made it a little bit larger in our community park, and we wrapped around that sidewalk for accessibility, and we did a few site improvements with, say, we're going to have benches as well as bike racks in the trash facilities, but we don't have a swing set. So the reason this number shows larger is for these community parks, a swing set really is something we want. People look for that. It's one of the first amenities. So being Iverson as popular and busy as it is, we did increase this number slightly so that we could do a similar setup, not the same theme, but a similar amenity setup, a large playground with a swing set for Iverson Park. And that'll keep us on our schedule where we don't have all of our playgrounds coming due in 1 year. By keeping with one each year, 25, 30 years from now when these facilities need to be replaced, very similarly, they'll be able to be sequenced by the city. Going on from there, we do have some tuck pointing in the Gurkey Stadium. Recall we had a big project this year where we rebuilt one of the columns, and we had a few different points across the back. When we first noticed the tuck pointing that was necessary for Gurkey, it was $100,000 in repairs we had for an estimate, and our capital budget just couldn't withstand it. So we broke that into really 3 phases, I should say. We did $50,000 last year, and we held $25,000 for the next 2 years. So what we're prioritizing here is that we would do this next phase of it, which is coming around the front near the track area. There's areas underneath like the railings and things that you'll see the tuck pointing starting to fail. And again, the intent here is to stay on the schedule so that we don't have what we just spent go to waste with other areas of that structure failing. And then moving forward, there's kind of a wish list item is how I'm going to phrase this. It's a pickleball facility in Mead Park. So we do have parkland development dollars that come in when we have large residential areas or apartment complexes built in the city. So there's a $45,000 request here that I placed in as priority 10 because this is a want. However, many people in our community have expressed the need to have dedicated pickleball. We just went through this with the gurkey upgrade. So how I show this is that we've measured the mead courts. There's 2 full-size tennis courts there. And working with Rattler, who just did the design work for gurkey, we believe we could actually resurface that facility and make it 6 dedicated pickleball courts without adding on to it. The caveat is, in a perfect world, if you're building a competitive tournament-style facility, you would want 8 feet minimum from the end line to the fence. We'd be at about a 7.5 foot. So it's very close, and for recreational pickleball, but I'm being told by those that play it frequently, it's not an issue. If you wanted a full sanctioned competitive tournament, then it could be if they said you don't meet the threshold. The good news is this would, a facility that's not being used as heavily as Gurkey or several other tennis facilities in the city, it would repurpose it and give it a use that we don't have currently, which is dedicated pickleball. In addition, I'm proposing, and if you look at the bottom of the spreadsheet, that we would use $30,000 of parkland development money to build that new park amenity. So we'd be using dollars we've taken from a developer in that service radius on the other side of the river and applying it to build this new recreational area. And it would be at a cost of $15,000 to the capital budget and $30,000 of that parkland dollars. So while it's a want item and we're moving it ahead, we'd be striking while the community's asking for this facility without having to build a new facility somewhere else or redo things. Lastly, it's not prioritized, but the turf football field is due. You'll recall that we were going to do that this year. COVID kind of threw that off. We have over half of this money in a fund that we've been fundraising with our last time we sold the sponsorship dollars, as well as when we had multiple field rentals that went into a segregated account. So this $600,000 that's there is actually not borrowed money. We still have to put it in the capital budget because it works through our finance end with our finance department.
What's that going to involve?
What it involves ultimately is rolling out the existing carpet, so the actual turf. We want to put a shock pad in, which is a new technology for concussions. That goes down on the infrastructure that's there, which is the stone and all the tiling that's underneath it. Then they roll the new turf out, and you have to fill it back up with the infill material, and they call it fulcrum, which is the rubber. So that $600,000 would be complete replacement of that. This is on schedule with what we did when the city did this in 2007, and because of good budgeting and putting that extra money in the kitty, now with sales of the new sponsorships on the field, there's no borrowing going into this. So it's just shown as a project, but it would include the money that's on hand as well as new sponsorships being sold. So really good setup by Director Schrader as well as Tim Sherrill and several others that were involved back then. The planning ahead has got that set. So the intention would be this would be a project that would happen after the spring track season, middle of summer. Next football season, you'd have the new turf for the football field.
So Dan, just to clarify with the turf replacement at Gurkey, that is in addition to priorities 1 through 10, so this is gonna happen regardless?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, because of the funding, it's gonna happen with the separate borrowing money, but it does get placed in with the capital budget.
Is that new carpet, or is that just the shock pad and then put the carpet in?
No, brand new turf. Yep, the it starts with an M. We have, not Mondovi, Maldano turf right now, and that's a technology from back then. This would be a much newer technology similar to Xenov. And then we should get extended life again. Well, 12, 13 years or something out of this new carpet would be.
What was the sponsorship in that for how many years?
Most of them were 10-year pledges of repayment, but for the life of the turf. And as you all know, the center 50-yard line is no longer the correct name, and so there's some interest by even local businesses to obviously be involved with that. So we do hope to work with the same core on the fundraising this September to move that forward. So that's 2022's, and really the action item I'm going to ask from the Park Commission is just if there's any sort of ranking difference you'd like there. Looking further, and I won't go individual projects, there's a lot of them, but you'll see we have some big ticket items that are coming up, things like lights. So Buchholz Diamond is the first one that lights are really going to be a priority. The good news I'll tell you is we're currently in negotiations with the Legion baseball program, and I believe we're headed towards a pledge from them for probably $100,000 over 10 years. In addition, they intend to help spearhead, similar to what the Softball Association did for Xenov, some fundraising for that through things like room tax as well as local businesses. So I believe that 2023 project is going to look something like thirds. The city maybe with a third, them pledging a third, and then trying to privately fundraise a third. So following similar models we've done in the past. Additionally, Cash Playground surface is gonna have to be replaced. It's cracking, we're patching it a lot. We're gonna try to get one more year out of it.
Didn't we have money in I was on the board, I thought we had money put aside for that.
Yep, there's about 50,000 in a fund at the community foundation, but this project's gonna be in excess of 200 to redo the whole thing. So, but that would be part of it, that would play into that role of the maintenance fund. So that's place held. There's some others that potentially could slide. We have multiple playgrounds and things, but those are some of the big ones that are coming up. Additionally, Grholski Park, we plan to do that in 5 years, the first part of the development. So I think I might have went over that, and I'm sorry, and when I was going fast in 22, but we do have some design work for Grholski in 22, because the phase 1 construction would start 23, so we can finish that in 24. So you'll see a couple $100,000 for that in terms of that construction. So looking further ahead, we have splash pad in here held in 24. That's another big ticket item. There's items, more lights projects, because Morton is coming due with some of their wood poles, so is Iverson. We'll try to spread those light projects out and work with our local partners. That's our hope, to try to lessen that burden for our city dollars. And that's part of our partnership with these organizations. We don't charge them for field usage, so that they put money back into the facilities, how we set that up. There's several more in here, but again, the other projects can be moved around. So with that, I guess I can answer any questions. And again, the priority ranking is really at the Park Commission's discretion, if there's something that you'd like to see moved up or moved later.
How long do those lights last, like at Bucalt and Morton and Mead?
So really, the poles are the biggest issue now with the wood poles. So some of them are, they've been there since the 70s and 80s. These new poles with the metal, you're told basically the fixtures come with 25 to 30-year warranties before you even have to worry about bulbs. But then you can replace the bulbs and the metal poles.
Structure stays there.
Should be good for pretty much ever, is what they're saying. So, but the wood poles, what happens with our wood is they start to hollow in the middle. So in Bucalt, for example, we've cut the tops of them off a couple times and lowered the light. And the lumens are important for a baseball. So the smaller the ball, the more lights you have to have, so that somebody doesn't take a ball in the face essentially, or can't see it. So what we have to be careful with Bucalt is, if we start manipulating poles too much, we're gonna be manipulating the lights. So Legion's already expressed, they have intentions of bringing a couple state tournaments here. So they hope to host it in 23 and 24. So they're hoping if we can do the light upgrade, they could put that in their proposal.
So Dan, as part of that light upgrade at the parks, does that include going to something more energy efficient, or are we already there?
These are LED numbers.
Okay.
So Musco Lighting is the leader in the lighting industry. There is another smaller company that's starting to start up, but Musco is really nationwide. They are actually transitioning to almost sell only LEDs, because that's the new technology. That's why these numbers are so high, that because this high frequency lighting or this high lumen lighting they haven't gone to scale yet. They're still very pricey to put that new technology in.
But there'll be a savings over the long run with those metal
Definitely.
poles.
Definitely.
And actually probably electricity use
Yeah.
also.
Yep. Yeah, and really then no one should have to worry about a pole failing or ever having to manipulate that again. So really it should be, when the wood poles came out and these old candle lights, they were great technology, and we've gotten a lot of years out of them. But the next upgrade should be kind of the final upgrade, hopefully, when we get to that point.
Dan, or Director Kramer, sorry. I don't see the Bucalt Beach project in here
Yes.
anywhere.
Great question.
Is that past 2026? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
So really the reason I didn't place that number in yet is and great question. So we left that last meeting is we talked about reviewing the structure of the building first. So since that time, I met with the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, because the building is on the State Historic Registry. We talked about ideas of what would they maybe want, and obviously he couldn't speak for the whole commission, but he felt saving the building is gonna be all of our priority, right? So what we talked about first was a structural analysis. So I met with an architect who's gonna give us a number just to evaluate what the building's doing. Is it structurally sound? That should be much less that we can work in the operational budget. After we do that step, my intention was to come back to the commission and say, here's where the findings are, and we're gonna have really two roads forward. The first is gonna be a discussion with historic preservation to say, okay, the building's structurally enough that we can remodel it. Will you allow us to do X and X? If they say yes, we could then move forward with that master plan. Okay, a building can be done. So what I saw for a sequence was, we'll do some of the smaller boots on the ground stuff here of evaluating the building, come back to Park Commission probably in the next couple months saying, here's what the evaluation said. Early next year, we start to work on the plan with Historic Preservation's blessing of master plan, and this time next year, we budget whatever that number is. And as we know, it could really be wide. So I didn't want to take a shot in the dark, because that is a big placeholder, as well as if we get some sort of different news on the building, that might change our plans for the master plan. So I didn't hold it, but that is something that is coming, that could be, a six-figure number for sure, seven-figure.
Thank you.
So, as a commission, to clarify, it is our responsibility at this point to provide you feedback in terms of the ordering.
Correct.
Formal action on that to help.
Yeah, if you could give me a motion, that'd be great, and based on that submittal or what the commission feels, that would be what goes to the comptroller treasurer. So Park Commission knows these get evaluated then through them in finance, so even if we say, for example, this is priority one, it could still get cut. So it really based on city's funding.
I'll make a motion to accept as put forward.
We have a motion to accept as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept these as presented by Director Kramer. Is there any discussion?
This is Oliver Smolinski. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I want to echo a point that I've made over and over through the years. It's just interesting how, when these new ideas are brought forward to us with creating new parks, creating new infrastructure within our city, pretty much putting an additional burden onto our park system and ultimately the taxpayers. I noticed like the Grahowski Park. We're looking at a number 5 priority, $20,000, but yet we have several other things that are down the list that are existing things that we've had. We're basically maintaining our existing facilities that are getting pushed down the road. And this is the exact reason why I always argue these new ideas and new parks, because we have enough to take care of our own, and to continue to just put additional burdens on our park system and our taxpayers, it's just in my mind somewhat reckless. But my question for the item for the pickleball, it was brought up regarding the Mead Park converting the tennis courts to the pickleball courts. Are those courts used by tennis players now? My only concern is, and this isn't really a financial budget question, but it's more or less, if we convert these to pickleball courts, then all of a sudden tennis players are going to say, hey, where's our courts? I guess that's just maybe a question for Dan down the road.
Actually, Alder Shore had.
I'm in a position, thank you. I'm in a position to speak to that as an active user, and I can confirm. Dan may have checked with, user groups, but my experience, and plenty of it, is definitely that people don't play at Mead nearly as much as at Gurkey. It's kind of pretty far down.
So I guess Alder Smolinski, just to clarify, are you suggesting that we reevaluate the items that you have concerns about?
Well, again, we pretty much, we've committed to creating the park. If we do it this year, if we wait 4 years, it's something that we're obligated to, follow through on our commitment on this. So, we could push it down on the priority list, but again, it's gonna pop up next year again if it doesn't go through this year. It's not gonna go away. And I guess that was my main point, is, we make these commitments, and now we're spreading ourselves even thinner, is I guess where I was going with that. So, I guess not necessarily dropping it down, but just making that point.
All right, appreciate that, thank you.
I'll just add one thing on the Mead Park question. When we did the Gurkey Park, we actually evaluated if pickleball could go as part of that facility. I received over 100 emails actually of the tennis community, and it was an overwhelming response of could Mead be looked at for pickleball, because Gurkey was the sixplex, they could have more tennis players. And then the pickleball community that was in support of some of the gurkey courts being converted, after that didn't filter out, we decided to move forward. I asked several times when I'd have conversations with people is, what do you think about Mead? And I keep hearing is we just want a dedicated facility, that they're really interested in that part of it. And there is a plan in the region to still do a larger complex, most likely in another village or a neighboring area. But this would allow us to say in our inventory, in our park system, and in the city of Stevens Point, you have school tennis courts, you have college tennis courts, and we have a sixplex in Gurkey. This would allow us to say now we have a sixplex of pickleball in our park system. And it would be the first ones, to my knowledge, that are dedicated pickleball in Stevens Point. And if something else happens in a neighboring area, we would probably never have a need to add more, but it would allow us to have really two different types of facilities and not that conflicting use.
Question. I'm just wondering.
Thanks for that clarification.
Sorry. I'm just wondering, as far as what you said about it not being like the full size, like, is it worth trying to explore a way to fundraise to, or something to have that be regulation size so that it can be used for tournaments? I mean, if we're going to put money into it, it seems like maybe we should consider doing it so that it has more use than just as practice courts or whatever.
Yeah, so that's a fair question. So essentially, what it would entail to get the extra space we'd need would be fence removal, adding asphalt, and making it larger. And you'd end up with new asphalt, and then the new asphalt would be bonded to the old asphalt. Can be done, but you probably take that 45,000 number, and then you'd add, I can't even take a shot in the dark at it exactly.
Yeah.
And the added benefit would be you could get the 8 foot and have it say quote unquote sanctioned. We also could say we're only going to build 3 pickleball courts, right? And then you'd have enough space for the end lines. What we were looking at is what's the obligation in the park system? Is it recreational use or competitive use? This is probably the least expensive way to do it the soonest. And in the future, for example, later on, let's say eventually someday the asphalt surface would have to be replaced. So let's say that's 20 years down the road, or maybe it's 2 surfacing later. There's nothing to say that you couldn't add on the asphalt later and then restripe it. Similar to what we did over here, once you strip back the asphalt, they fill the cracks, and they do that, they put the surfacing down, you can reline it any way you'd like. So in essence, we still could down the road say, okay, we want to add more outwardly on both sides and make that happen. So short answer is we didn't explore right now fundraising. We definitely can. And for example, if that group that was interested in doing the bigger complex were to come and say, hey, we'd like to put money in, we wouldn't turn that down. But what I was looking at more is it's such a small margin. I think the user groups we would serve, you still could have a tournament here. Like, we wanted to run what we could. But say the Pickleball Association, I don't know the national organization, but if they wanted to come in and say it's got to be sanctioned, that would be different. And I don't know, we haven't gotten any requests for that type of tournament yet. So this would be still new for that regard. So, but I definitely am more than willing to still bounce it off. I think it was Point Area Pickleball Association, and say, would you want to help with an expansion? We are this much money to do what we can do. We'd be more than willing to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the budget as proposed for 2022 signify by saying aye.
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 Nice.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries, Dan, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7, Director's Report.
So I have the pool in the director's report. I just want to let everyone know that the pool will be closing on the 15th of August, and we've actually had a really good season. We've had a few days we've had to close because of staffing shortages. Lifeguard shortages are being observed statewide. You probably saw our neighboring communities been on the news for it a number of times. We were able to be open for 95%, but we've had a couple key days where we were understaffed, and if we're understaffed, we can't legally open the pool. If somebody were to be drowned, it'd be obviously a lawsuit. We want to be safe. So we're intending to try to stay open to the 15th. On the flip side of that, why that deadline got set was 2 reasons. Staffing is one of it, but we also actually have a project in the park. WPS is working on taking all of the overhead lines that are out here and putting them underground. So council approved a easement agreement earlier with WPS. Basically, right now, they legally have the ability to put their line on a pole where they are. We signed an agreement with them to put that underground, which will clean the park up quite a bit. In addition, they're installing some new lighting behind the facility here, behind the PD and stuff, that'll help for Willett traffic when we're parking. So you'll have some new LED poles in our actual parking lot. So that construction project's set to start the 16th, and should take about 2 weeks. So you'll see the pool close, we'll start shutting that down, turning our pumps off. We'll probably lose power for a day or so in there when they start disconnecting and unhooking. And it also cleans up some areas. The PD's got some poles and like a lawn out front here. All of that stuff overhead here is gonna be going away by the time that project's done. The end result of why they're doing that, aging infrastructure, number one, but number two, they're doing a loop of power. So if we'd ever have a fault on this side, they'd be able to backfeed it is what they're saying. And that helps with the middle school as well as our facilities. And right now, that's not the way it's set up. We just have one way in, and I think the middle school's on a different line. So this was a WPS kind of driven project. So other than that, we're trying to use our seasonals as much as we can here as we're coming to end of August. We always start losing staff. But overall, it's been busy. We had a lot of projects going on, but that's the biggest kind of transition we have coming here yet for the pool. So that's all I have for my director's report right now, and I can answer questions if there is any.
Any questions for Director Kramer? I did one comment, the work that has been done on the trails coming out of Iverson towards Patch Street, the maintenance work has been outstanding. They've cleaned that out. Crew was really helpful. I biked over there one day and one of the staff actually moved a branch out of the way so I could get through. So
Great.
wanted to share that with you.
Thank
And
you.
it looks great that they've done a nice job over there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're quick to fill that out of Bucco too. There was some runoff there, that got ruts that,
Yeah, we had somebody call that one in, so we got to it right away.
All right, anything else for Director Kramer? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. John, Mike, all right, O'Connor and Kladowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed? Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, we will be able to see you in person next month.
Yes.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.